How many Eagles fans are in the room? Can I hear that one more time? Then I'm sure you know the Eagle cheer, right? All right, good night, everybody. Thank you. My name is Leonard Bonacci, and if it's all right with you, I'm just going to step off the podium a second and chat with you guys. I work for the Philadelphia Eagles. It is truly a dream job and a privilege to be out here, get an opportunity to speak with you guys. By no means do I stand up here and preach that we know it all. We definitely don't. We're still learning as we go. It's something that's important to us. We do subscribe to the triple bottom line, and it really is important. And what I like, and I hope I can demonstrate for you tonight, some things where the Lurie's have really put their money where their mouth is. I have to tell you my story personally, is that I come from a place that is so opposite this movement. I almost expect my friends to card me to make sure it's really me up here talking about this. I come from an area where I really thought, you know, the tree huggers, it's just never green enough, it's never clean enough, like, get off my back, you know, leave me alone. You know, humans are bad, the earth's going to blow up, humans need to go away. And that's how I thought about it. And, you know, the Lurie's and I, obviously, at that point, mixed like oil and water, I guess, philosophically. But I sat down and heard what they had to say, and they talked about how important it was. And we brought in a consulting group, the Sexton Group, and they sat down with us, and they talked to us about how this does make sense. And I want to just quote an article. I mentioned it, Pierre, earlier. If you haven't had a chance to read the article in the Inquirer, fantastic article, and a company really showing a leadership position that we hope to one day get to. And the statement is this. At a point in time, it used to be, I either am going to be profitable or I'm going to be green. And today, through a lot of work of people in this room and some real trailblazers out there, it's not a choice anymore. And I hope I can demonstrate tonight some examples or just some short anecdotes of where you don't have to make that choice, where being green is actually more profitable. So why wouldn't you? And to use a cheesy line, you can't afford not to do it. So without further ado, I just want to give you this kind of overview of our Go Green program. This was a piece done by NFL Films last year. The Lurie's are in it. There's some incredibly handsome dude in there that I'll be talking to that looks kind of like me. But it'll give you kind of an overview of our program, and then we'll get into the stories. I hope you enjoy it.
In Philadelphia, green is known as the color of success on the football field.
And they are celebrating, and why not?
But for the Eagles, Go Green has become more than just a fan's rallying cry.
Beautiful day! Beautiful day!
The planet is in serious shape in terms of global warming.
Major sports teams have an impact on the environment, especially game day, whether it's through trash, energy consumption, whether it's through the materials that we use, whether it's through water. The reality is that every person has an impact on the planet, and we wanted to become a responsible company, especially in terms of the environment.
It's up to private business, sports teams particularly because they're so high profile, to really take a progressive and aggressive stance.
The Eagles became the first pro sports team to take a stand, launching the Go Green program in 2003.
Christina and Jeffrey made it a point that this building was going to be a building that was not only a facility to be proud of in Philadelphia, but one to be proud of on a different level, and they brought to us the green concept.
What started as an initiative to spread awareness has grown from ads, recycling, to the use of environmentally friendly products. The momentum to Go Green is growing.
Our vending partners at the stadium are very excited to be part of this, and they're the ones who come forward now and say, you know, we can provide cups and plates that are made out of corn products.
These are our cups that you might receive if you go ahead and you were to purchase a beverage in the stadium. You'd receive your beverage in a cup like this. Now, plastic sounding, it feels like plastic. You could put liquid in it, it doesn't break through, but these are not plastic. These are not petroleum-based products. These are corn.
and they will disintegrate in the landfills within 45 days. So they leave no impact on the environment.
Eagles programs here, game day programs.
With the Go Green program, the Eagles have recycled 150 tons of recycled paper, cardboard, and beverage containers. That's the equivalent of 214 tons of wood from a virgin forest. So the impact is very real.
The impact is also being felt through the team's use of eco-friendly energy sources.
25% of our energy is renewable energy, whether it's from wind or solar. And on game day, starting this fall, it's going to be 100%.
Chicago may be the Windy City, but with the Eagles becoming the first organization to reimburse employees who purchase wind energy, that may soon change.
If people do think of the Eagles, they think of winning team, they think of great fan base, and they think that's a group of people that are socially conscious. And we try to encourage that with all the people that come to work for us, play football for us.
Quarterback A.J. Feely is just one Eagle who embraces the concept of going green.
I guess I became more environmentally active after hearing about Mrs. Lurie's Go Green campaign and after seeing the movie Inconvenient Truth.
Nice!
Just the effects of what we're doing here and kind of the consumption type attitude that most people are taking right now. I think we need to step back and take a look at what we're actually doing to the environment. It just so happened that I needed a car, and the hybrid kind of came up as a possibility. I figured I'd do my part, maybe influence others around the area. The cool thing about this car is the fact that the gas mileage actually is better within the city, where if you drive, under 25, 30 miles an hour, you're using mostly battery power. It rides smooth. It's actually got a lot of acceleration, a lot of get up and go. At some point, I think here in time, most, if not all, gasoline cars will be obsolete.
As I sit here in 2007 and look back at the impact that we've made, 8.5 tons of plastic are not in a landfill because of some things we've done here. The ripple effect of the Go Green program, imagine how that exponentially impacts the environment.
Hopefully in 5 or 10 years, it'll be where it's kind of run-of-the-mill. That will be what a sports team does, and we'll look back and say we didn't do anything exceptional. We just sort of led a trend, and hopefully more people will find better ways of doing what we're doing, and we'll learn from them.
I really appreciate you guys applauding for that, because I think it's important. There are a number of messages in there that I might highlight just to bring some points to the front of the floor here. One of the things that Jeffrey talks about a lot is using the leverage that our name affords us. The Philadelphia Eagles, from a dollars and cents standpoint, don't generate the revenue that might be in a Coca-Cola's ashtray. The numbers are just staggeringly different. But the name recognition and the brand equity that we enjoy, and frankly we're privileged to have, Jeffrey feels as though it was important for us to leverage that and use that to make a difference. And it's companies like us and Aramark and the Coca-Colas and Pepsis of the world to really do something in order to help along some of the smaller businesses. If the Philadelphia Eagles or Aramark ask for a corn cup, and oh, by the way, I want it for the same price I pay for my current petroleum-based cup, chances are it's going to happen. Because if you don't do it, somebody else is going to be in line that's going to do it. Here's the thing that I think is really the beauty of the whole mechanism, is now Joe's Rib Shack, who's at 8th and Shunk or wherever, and wants to be more environmentally responsible, if they ask for that cup, sure, I'll give you that cup. It's 4 times the cost, but you can have it. So I think it's incumbent upon business to be a little bit more socially responsible and use those names to get out in front and say, look, we want this and we will not do business the old way anymore. And if you don't do it, the beauty of capitalism, somebody else will come in and do it for you. So we've worked closely with Aramark and a number of our suppliers. One that I want to highlight tonight is SCA. I don't know if you guys have heard of these folks. They're over in the Sears Center. They just recently relocated their United States headquarters here and took us through and saw our green message, and they're an incredibly green company. And their president, Don Lewis, came to us and said, look, I think there's something here. I don't know what it is, but there's something here. So they walked us through how their space was built, using products from within a certain radius, so the trucks didn't haul, and the fossil fuels that were expelled, and the products that they used, and post-consumer recycled material. And it really just educated us. So in 2003, by the way, when we started this campaign, it was hush-hush as far as the public went. We didn't want to go out and say, look what we can do, because frankly, we didn't know. Because aren't we all learning as a planet, as a country, as a city, as a people? We're learning how to become more environmentally responsible. So we didn't feel it was our place to step out in front. We were taking lessons from companies like Pierre's, where they're out in front, they're doing these things, we've taken some swings at it, let's learn from their mistakes and kind of hop on their successes. So SCA walked us through a number of ways. Philip Rosenau is a company that does our cleaning supplies. They came to us and we told them, look, we're really not familiar with this green seal concept. Could you educate us? Walked us through the whole process and educated us on it. And we work hard now in constant communication about what the next environmentally friendly cleaning chemical is coming up on the front. As I mentioned, Aramark, and finally, FCR, which used to be Blue Mountain Recycling in Philadelphia, we sat down with them and said, educate us on the recycling process. And it wasn't just us. We brought Aramark with us. That's our concessionaire. We brought our cleaner with us. We brought all the stakeholders in our building. When you have one of the largest beer parties in a 1.7 million square foot space on Sunday, you've got to have some strategies behind how you're going to collect the trash. As you can imagine, there's some cups used on game day. So we went down with the stakeholders and really listened to how it was that the process worked. What are some strategies? Where are you getting jammed up? And we really used diagrams and all that stuff that you don't normally use as a football team. But we diagrammed out, you remember that thing on Saturday mornings, I'm just a bill, and it showed you how it went through to be a law? Well, that's kind of what we did with our trash. Now, there's a Saturday night, isn't it? So we sat down and said, okay, the cup comes in, show us the life of a cup. And we went through and really identified areas that were jamming us up and spent some time coming up with ideas, really brainstorming, putting ideas to paper and saying, let's try this. So that was a great exercise. And we based it on the concept of, this won't be new to anybody, reduce, reuse, recycle. And we started with reduction. So we sat down and we said, okay, how is it we impact the environment in a negative manner? And as you can imagine in football, with all the statistics that are out there, there's a lot of paper used. There's a lot of napkins used. There's a lot of cups used. So we really started writing all that stuff down. And with our consultants, we were able to identify areas that we never even thought of that were impacting the environment, and how we could quickly institute ways to immediately reduce our impact on the environment. The number one lesson for me, and being where I was and then coming over to the other side, I guess I should do it this way, right? So I get over here, and then I realize that, hey, this is not hard. This is able to be done in a business sense. It's not about losing money to save the planet. You can make money and save the planet at the same time. What a concept. So we sat down and said, okay, what's the first thing we need to do? Post-consumer recycled material is the best phrase I ever heard. It's the biggest part of my education in this area. Because basically it completes the circle, doesn't it? It starts here, as a tree, and then it turns into paper, and then it gets thrown away, and then it gets recycled, and then it gets put back into another product. And I quickly learned the difference between recycled and post-consumer recycled material. And it's important. Education obviously is important, and this group knows that. But in this area specifically, because you may think you're doing the right thing by using recycled material. But they quickly told us that, be careful, because what that might mean is they've cut a tree down, they've sliced it up for lumber, and then those pieces that are left over, they've turned that into paper. So now you're using recycled material, which is good, but you're still damaging virgin forests and you're still cutting trees down. Post-consumer recycled material obviously was something else before. You're not impacting those forests, and you can now create something from something else. So basically, the rule of thumb that I would just want anybody to leave with is just find products that have post-consumer recycled material and buy the highest percentage content of it you can find. And if your supplier won't do it, this is how we look at it, because I know a number of you are suppliers, is that we're going to find somebody who will. And we've lost some very good vendors that were very good to us from a customer service perspective, had no reason to get rid of them other than somebody's doing it greener. And I need to be part of that because that's our mission. And we are going to put our money where our mouth is. So from a utility standpoint, I will tell you that we've gotten real aggressive in this area. Here's the cool part about our greening process. Cool, isn't that a real technical term? The really cool part for me is that it's as simple as a paper, pencil, and a checklist, and an intern. No offense, guys. Somebody's got to walk around that place, and it's not going to be me. No, I'm kidding. But 1.7 million square feet, that's our building. There's a lot of light bulbs in there, a lot of light switches, as you can imagine. There's a lot of hoods that run on electricity. Our power bill in the month of January in 2004 was, I think, over $400,000. You can check me on that if you want, Pico, if you'd like, yeah. Which will send a CFO to the noose quickly to jump right off the nearest bridge. What we decided was there's got to be a better way. There's got to be a better way. So we gave these checklists and all of the equipment in the building, and these interns, they go around on Monday or Sunday following a game. Actually, it's Sunday after the game. And they just go through and check off. Is it off? That has saved us, since 2003, $1.7 million. That's dollars. I always think back to that IBM commercial where the guy's like, yeah, it's green, the Greens will love me, what's it mean? And they said, $1 million a year. And she said, where do I sign? It's real, folks. That's the cool part about this thing. It's real. And it's dollars. It goes right to the bottom line. And I can think of a lot of things that I can do with that kind of money to just invest and reinvest in our business. I'll tell you that it ranges from the checklist all the way up to more exotic methods. We have a Metasys building management system that basically maintains the temperatures in certain rooms, occupied, unoccupied, instead of running around, you know, my father, he's an old Italian, and he'd run around and turn it down. He'd know the minute you move that. It, like he'd be a city away. Somebody turn the heat up, you know? So maybe he created the system and I don't even know it. But anyway, we put this system in and it balances and obviously knows when your rooms are occupied and unoccupied. The other area was in lighting control. And the Lutron lighting system that we use does a sweep of our stadium at 6 o'clock. So if you're working late, all of a sudden it goes, you know, and everything's, I guess I get to go home. But no, you can locally turn them on. But it helps in saving the power. So there are more exotic methods that require capital investment. But in these kinds of times, nobody's running around with their pocketbook open saying, somebody take my money. So using some of the more basic methods of checklists and just having people turn lights off, our security staff are now on green watch. And as security walks around at night, they check for lights. Those little desk cube lights, death they are, because they're all on. So they have to shut those off. You know, turning rooms off, like for example, our football staff is out for the next couple of weeks. We put the building kind of in an unoccupied status from a heating and air conditioning standpoint, and it saves tremendous dollars. And it's not a lot of work or energy there, but it does save a lot of energy. In the area of petroleum-based plastics, I'll tell you that, as you saw in the video, we switched from the petroleum-based plastic cup to a corn cup, and that, as Christina said, breaks down in the landfill in 45 days. Here's one of the things that I'm going to go off on a little bit of a tangent, but kind of caution you on. In this movement, there are still fringe players out there that are on the extremes. And I actually had somebody in a talk once come up to me at the end, either that or it was during the Q&A, but really challenged me on, do you know those corn cups don't necessarily break down and there's a byproduct and blah, 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 blah. So basically I wanted to say in return, so you'd rather me go back to the petroleum-based plastic? Well, no. Well, then which do you want me to do? You just have to be cautious on those people because I don't know why they're out there. I don't know what the function they're serving. And maybe they're trying to keep the movement going forward, and I guess that's good. Everybody's got a role. But what I'm telling you is it may not be perfect, but get started somewhere. Take a swing. Get in the box. I'm going to use a baseball analogy, but get in the batter's box. Just take some cuts at it. And if you start to see numbers going in the right direction, then you're doing something right, and you should feel good about it. If we're not getting it perfect, I don't think it's an all or nothing game. It's something that, as you go along, you're going to see improvements. Beer, for example, as you can imagine, I'm glad you're all sitting because this might surprise you. We sell beer at football games. So we decided there's a tremendous amount of plastic bottles that beer comes in. And we were popping that open, putting it in the cups. So during one of our sessions, somebody asked the question, they still do beer in cans? Yeah. Why don't we switch? I don't know. Okay. So Aramark said, we'll call them. So we called Bud and Miller and all the guys and said, send us your beer in cans, folks. We're done with the bottle business. No problem. So now all of those bottles are not in the landfill as a result of some things that we're doing at the stadium. Now, with that being said, aluminum is much more recyclable and all that stuff, so it's a much better vehicle as far as the recycling practices goes. Plasticware. This is fascinating to me. They're actually growing grass and different kinds of vegetation to weave into these plastic forks and knives. It's fascinating. Don't put it past one of our fans to attempt to eat those plastic forks and knives. I told the guy it was a corn cup. He took a bite and said, oh, this stinks. And that was in the first quarter. Imagine what the fourth quarter was like. So anyway, but again, here's an area that, there's some things out there that are more socially responsible, environmentally friendly that you can use. Are they perfect? No. Put one of those things in a bowl of hot soup, you don't have a spoon left. You've got a stick. So these are the things we're working on, not us personally, but our vendors and our suppliers. So any of you out there with a environmentally responsible hot spoon, I'll take it. But we're always on the look for something like that. Our impact on the forests, as I mentioned with the paper. If you go back to your companies and immediately switch your paper to 100% post-consumer recycled material, you will not spend a dime more and you will immediately be greener tomorrow. That's the first thing we did in our movement. Our vendors jumped right on board. Our subcontractors or service partners, as we like to call them, our security provider, everybody switched their paper immediately. Use of fossil fuels. This is a really interesting story as far as I'm concerned with one of those complete loops, as we like to call. As many loops as we can get in the building is a good thing, and here's one of the loops. Our fryer oil, along with beer, we also fry everything. We're trying to fry beer, actually. But anyway, so the fryer oil, we take all of that out. A company called Waste Oil Recyclers takes that out, takes it to a refinery down in Chester. They refine it into biodiesel. We buy it back, and we put it in our tractors. A loop. We want to do as many of those loops as we can. I was in a meeting this afternoon, something we're very excited about, a composting program where we can take that food, and the food that doesn't get sold, there's a great program called Rock and Wrap It Up, that they take it to the homeless, some of the food that is still very good, just the end of the game, ran out of time, so they take it and feed the homeless. The stuff that we can't obviously send to that group, we're going to turn into compost. We're going to buy it back, fertilize the fields and the practice facility grounds. So again, another loop. So we're looking forward to little ways that we can constantly do things like that. But we're really happy that we're reducing constantly our dependency on fossil fuels. The reuse section, we're still kind of working on things that we can do in this area, but one of the things we are doing, we're making a big movement right now to get rid of the water bottles. It just, at some point in my life, it became important that everybody has a water bottle attached to their head, and they have to walk around with one. So we have this stainless steel, it's kind of a tube-looking thing, but we've gotten rid of pretty much all of the water bottles. We have a very small amount. But we have filtered water in our cafeteria and in all of the areas of the stadium, and then people just fill these bottles up. We've changed in the meetings to crafts. You put them on the table, and then glassware that people in meetings can just have water there. So those are one of the little things in the world of reuse. Recycle, this is kind of the final point in the process, is infrastructure. I can't tell you how important infrastructure was. I touched on it before, but you really do have to sit down and diagram this and find out where you're missing. And we found a number of areas. When you pay a person $8 an hour and it's the middle of winter, and you want them to take the cardboard from one side of the stadium to the other, chances are they're not going to do it. They're going to drop it in the first dumpster they find. So at least they're not throwing it on the floor, okay? So anyway, we worked with a company who's actually here tonight, PTR, and found a portable compact baler that they have for cardboard, and we're able to string it up on one side of the building, and then we have a compactor on the other side, so it really helps. You have to know your animal that you're dealing with, and to force them to understand the green concept and carry it on the other side of the stadium just wasn't happening. So we just built around them, because that's what we have. It is what it is, and it can't be otherwise, so we decided let's do it that way. So that was one of the things. The second thing we did that was really impactful was we changed all of the bags for plastics to blue, and the dumpster is now painted blue. So now it's very simple. You see blue, you throw it in the blue dumpster. Simple. And that blue dumpster goes to the recycling center. So we've made it that simple because they only work 10 or 12 times a year. So we saw our numbers dramatically increase. I'll give you just a snippet of that. 07, we commingled 38 tons. In 08, 65 tons. Dramatic increase as a result of that color coding. This year we've added the Phillies games to the mix, meaning we're picking our parking lot because people park at our parking lot. We've done that there. We're already at 40 tons, and we haven't even started the Eagles season yet. So I'm very excited as we have a Kenny Chesney show tomorrow, or Saturday, to see what those numbers end up doing. Finally, from a Eagles perspective, here's where the owners put the money where their mouth is. Maybe a little bit symbolic, but a wonderful program. Pico Wind, I don't know if you've heard of that at home. If you haven't, sign up for it. It's awesome. They offset your energy usage at your house. The Eagles said, we'd like you guys to do this at home. By the way, it's $5 extra a month. That'll be in your check. Don't worry about it. Now, some will say, well, it's $5. He's a billionaire. He's fine. But isn't that a little bit symbolic? I think it's symbolic. It helped me as an employee to say, you know what, they're really putting their money where their mouth is. I'm signing up. And it's a voluntary program, but pretty much the organization has latched right onto it. I just want to finish with finally saying that this is a journey. It's not all or nothing. And if it's not everything, it's something. Make a difference, constantly asking the question, what's next? And I'm just going to leave you with this. What's next? It's up to you guys. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time.